Right now, Department of Transportation officials are asking drivers to stop taking a dangerous detour around construction in Dodgeville.
And who is responsible for the electrical substation fires in downtown Madison, where inspectors knew there was a problem before it happened?
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now at 6.
Thanks for joining us. The Wisconsin DOT says there have been at least 5 crashes at the same intersection of US 151 in Dodgeville in the last few months alone.
Ever since construction started on the main interchange in and out of the city, drivers have been using this as a detour route. And as our Amanda Quintana shows us, it might be faster, but it's also more dangerous.
There's construction happening on the entrance to US 151 out of Dodgeville, and there's a detour set up to go through the city. But instead, many people are using this way to get to Madison.
They're in a hurry. They're backed up for 30-some cars at a time, around 5 o'clock in the afternoon. People getting off work.
Curtis Venden has lived next to the County Highway YZ intersection with 151 for almost 50 years. He says it's never been this busy, but since construction started in April on the ramps in and out of Dodgeville, more people are coming to YZ to get back on the highway, leading to more crashes.
I've heard them. Ambulances coming, and we've had 5 of them since they made the detour.
The increase in the last few months is obvious, especially for Randy Service and Towing.
2, 3, maybe 4 times at least, we've been out there and picked up a couple cars each time.
Jonathan Hildreth says it's usually because that long line of cars waiting to cross pull out in the middle of the intersection. We saw it happen multiple times today, even with a semi.
We had a truck that had a trailer on the back of it one time, and that, they were both rolled over in the median there, and we got both of them out.
These cars were towed away just this past Sunday. There's no wonder why this way is not the posted detour route, and DOT is urging people to use the recommended Wisconsin 23 to get on the highway.
Go the longer route if you have to. It's safer. It's a safer bet, all around.
In Dodgeville, Amanda Quintana, News 3 Now.
The DOT says it is reaching out to local officials to discuss possible changes to the access of County YZ until the construction is completed in September.
Right now, Alliant Energy says gas is cut off to about 600 customers in Baraboo due to a gas leak. About 2 this afternoon, a utility crew hit an underground line at the intersection of Vine and Maple. Alliant says there's no public safety threat here. They have 30 gas technicians on scene who actually have to individually relight each home. That could take several hours or even until tomorrow morning. Developing tonight, American Transmission Company says its transformer failed, leading to the explosion and fire at 2 of its Madison substations last week.
We are asking questions tonight about what is next for this company's investigation. Rose Schmidt explains the law related to inspecting this kind of equipment. Rose?
Yes, well, we discovered that there is no state agency responsible for performing inspections on equipment like the ATC transformer where the fire started. Officials with ATC say they inspect substations every month. The most recent one at the Blount Street substation was 4 days before the fire and explosion. During that inspection, the company identified a component that required further review and planned to analyze it further this week. The transmission company says it's looking for the root cause after its transformer failed, and the group Citizens Utility Board is pushing for more details in this investigation, but says it's too premature to say whether a policy change is in order.
We just want to find out and make sure that there's a full review of what happened, what went wrong here, and the steps that both American Transmission Company and MG&E may need to take going forward.
Companies like ATC are only required to have maintenance and inspection programs and provide reports to the state's Public Service Commission. Those reports, however, provide very few details about what was actually inspected or when. The investigation at the site is now ongoing, and the state's Department of Natural Resources is overseeing the company's cleanup.
Sunshine and warm temps all week. First alert forecast now with meteorologist Chris Reese. Chris?
Hey, it's been an absolutely beautiful day. Most of us have stayed on the dry side, but there is one lone shower that we have been watching to the north, slowly working its way towards the south. This is a live look from our station camera. You can see some of those storm clouds on the horizon. Here's Doppler track, though. Just over the past 6 hours, watch how that has moved down from the north. The storm popped up that's working its way towards the Illinois state line as we speak. But that is all we are watching. In the meantime, temperatures do remain fairly comfortable. Still 78 degrees right now. Some 60s in Lone Rock. That's where the rain-cooled air is in place. Here in Madison, again, 78, winds still coming out of the north and northwest at 5 miles per hour. As we go through the rest of your day, plan for more sunshine to stick around outside of that area where the showers and storms are. We'll cool down towards 60 overnight tonight.
All right, Chris, thanks. The extreme heat and humidity have left southern Wisconsin for the time being.
But thanks to a phenomenon called corn sweat, heat index values may have eclipsed 120 degrees in some rural areas in the state. Meteorologist Dave Caulfield is live tonight explaining the science behind that sweat. Dave?
Well, Danica and Eric, some portions of rural Wisconsin were more humid than Miami and Houston last week. And while the weather has improved, the corn behind me and plants like it could be a big reason why. So here is how the process of corn sweat, or it's more commonly known as evapotranspiration, or scientifically known that is, works. Plants take in liquid water from the soil, which then travels to the roots and through the plant to the leaves. Once that water hits the leaves, it turns from liquid water into water vapor. This releases a lot of energy, which cools the surface of the leaves, but that water vapor dampens the atmosphere near and downwind of spots like cornfields, spiking dew points and heat index values. The middle of July, prime time for corn sweat.
The leaf area of the plant is at a maximum right around July 15th. And of course, that's right now. And so these plants are transpiring a lot to keep their metabolism going.
It's worth noting that all plants go through this transpiration process, so it's not just an issue with corn, and that corn is one of the more efficient water use crops out there, especially compared to crops like soybeans or alfalfa. However, Lauer said it takes about 2 feet of water to produce about 200 bushels of corn. That large amount of moisture in the air can boost dew points anywhere from 5 to 10 degrees locally. And thanks to this corn sweat effect, the highest heat index in modern history actually happened in all places. Appleton, Wisconsin, back in 1995 in that famous July heat wave where Milwaukee and Madison saw staggering heat index values as well. There was a temperature in the triple digits in Appleton and a dew point of 90 degrees. And add all that up, that gets you a heat index value of 148 degrees. Just unbelievable.
He's kind of like our Bill Nye, isn't he? All this
Kind of, yeah.
He's like our scientist. Dave Caulfield, Dave in the cornfield. Thanks, Dave.
Starting next week, homeless residents in Janesville will be allowed to sleep overnight in their vehicles as a designated spot in Traxler Park. Now, the Janesville Gazette reports that that will be at the park's North Boat Launch parking lot. This ordinance will be valid from August 1st through October 31st. After that, the city will spend the next 2 months compiling a report to analyze the trial program. A beagle breeding facility is a step closer to becoming a reality in Spring Green after a Sauk County committee unanimously approved a conditional use permit. The facility will sell the dogs to be used for medical testing. A number of community members have spoken out about the noise as well as ethical concerns. On Thursday, another county committee will vote on a vegetated buffer for that facility. PETA released a response statement today that reads, quote, a laboratory breeding mill that condemns thousands of dogs to miserable lives and deaths is about as welcome in Spring Green as a case of anthrax. The organization said county officials, quote, squandered an opportunity to take a stand against extreme animal cruelty.
Police in Edgerton are warning residents to remove junk cars from their properties. This cleanup attempt is the latest in an ongoing dumping issue in Rock County. Our Rock County reporter Adam Duxter joins us from our bureau at the Janesville Gazette with more. Adam?
Well, Eric, the neighbors I talked to today say it's about time that Edgerton police are doing something about these junk cars. They say it's about having respect for your community. Broken bumpers, flat tires, and more. That's what Amy Lucas says she's been living next to.
They have a car that would sit in the front in front of their property, and it wasn't running. I noticed a couple times they had worked on it, but then it never moved.
And even when the cars went in her neighbor's driveway, she was still concerned.
Well, as a homeowner, I try to take pride in my property, and I honestly, I want other people to feel comfortable coming into the neighborhood as well.
The concept of taking pride, not just limited to the junk cars next door. Yesterday, it was this fridge full of food dumped in Edgerton. Today, another instance of illegal dumping in Janesville. Edgerton Police Chief Bob Kowalski says it's time to draw the line.
This is a great area. We just want to, keep it great. That's just ignorant on an individual's part to just dump their garbage there.
On Monday, the department warning homeowners, if you've got a junk car like this one, it's time to do something about it.
It devalues property around it. If you have these vehicles that are sitting there and weeds are growing up into it, bumpers are hanging off, hoods are off.
Amy says she feels like it's a reasonable request.
You have a car that doesn't run, okay, that's understandable, but get it fixed. If you can't, then why is it still sitting there?
Both her and Chief Kowalski saying today it's about making the community a nicer place to live.
I think it's a matter of being considerate about your neighbors.
Chief Kowalski says starting next month, they'll be handing out written warnings to these homeowners. And if they are ignored, that could lead to towing or costly citations over $100. Although he does say the police department is willing to work with the homeowners on a case-by-case basis.
Adam Duxer, live in Rock County. Adam, thank you.
A new study will look into design and cost options for a recreational bridge over the Wisconsin River connecting Sauk and Dane counties. That proposed 500-foot bridge would be at the former site of a century-old Sauk City rail bridge. It would allow runners, bikers, and snowmobilers to travel between the newly expanded Great Sauk State Trail and the Walking Iron Trail.
Next tonight, Madison says goodbye to a hero of jazz.
How longtime WORT radio host Gary Alderman is being remembered when we come back.
Welcome back. He was known as the hero of jazz. Gary Alderman, a longtime radio host at WORT-FM, has passed away.
And as Jamie Perez shows us, the radio station is reflecting on his impact that he made as your local jazz host for the past 35 years.
And welcome to Journeys into Jazz. I'm Gary Alderman, and we're here every Wednesday from 2 o'clock until 5.
Jazz lovers know this voice as the introduction to Gary Alderman's radio show, Journeys into Jazz, on WORT-FM. For nearly 4 decades, it's been his signature open. Alderman started as a volunteer here before 1982. In '84, he took over as a host.
he's been hosting a weekly show ever since then.
Sybil Augustine has been his supervisor for the past several decades. She knows jazz was his life.
Well, he'd always say to me, but does it swing?
Over the weekend, Alderman died after battling a rare form of cancer.
It'd be hard for all of us.
While we may no longer hear that famous greeting.
Afternoon, Madison, Wisconsin, and it's listening to Journeys into Jazz. I'm your host, Gary Alderman.
It's clear that Alderman was the pulse of the jazz music scene.
He's been collecting jazz for the past 50 years. A very valuable collection in the millions of dollars.
People who listened to Alderman's show wrote on the radio station's Facebook post about him how sorry they were to hear he lost his battle with cancer. His son sent us a few words about him, too. My dad's energy was infectious. His passion and knowledge of all things jazz was unmatched and will be deeply missed. Augustine says she will miss his professionalism and charismatic style on the air.
He didn't have a pre-written playlist like a lot of people do. He just goes in there and wings it.
Even though he had a degree in microbiology, Alderman lived and breathed jazz. So much so, he made this his long-term career instead. A passion he followed so intensely, even after being diagnosed with cancer in 2016.
It makes you feel better. You feel better by the time that you're done. So this is why he kept doing the show up until as late as through May of this year, because, you know, it was something that made him feel really good and everybody else too.
Alderman may have signed off for the last time here, but his mark on the jazz community will live on in memories forever.
You're listening to WORT 89.9 in Madison.
Jamie Perez, News 3 Now.
Gary Alderman is survived by his wife and 2 kids. The family is planning to host a public party at the Brink Lounge to celebrate his life in September.
And the radio station will pay tribute to him tomorrow from 2 to 5 during what would have been his regularly scheduled hosting hours. More information on his life and his legacy, you can find it at channel3000.com. We'll be right back.
Well, that slight chance of a shower or thunderstorm has panned out for us going through today. We're watching one shower. Well, it's actually a thunderstorm because there's lightning involved. It started out in northern Wisconsin. It's been working its way towards the south. So anywhere from just west of Lone Rock down through Dodgeville and just towards the north and east of Darlington. You're getting in on a brief downpour that's going to come through. There are a couple rounds of lightning in there as well. So don't be surprised if you hear a few rumbles of thunder. We're watching a few isolated spots as well, but as the sun begins to set, a lot of this is going to begin to lose its oomph, so that's going to fall apart. Now, if you remember yesterday, one of the things I said is the second day after a cold front is oftentimes the coldest, then our temperatures begin to moderate. Well, that was yesterday. Today, a lot of our temperatures are a couple degrees warmer than they were at this time yesterday. The areas where it's cooler, well, that's the rain-cooled air after that shower just moved on through and continues to push towards the south. Temperatures are at 68 in Lone Rock right now. You jump over to Boscobel, it's 82, 77 in Janesville, Monroe at 75. Here in Madison, we do sit with our temperature at 78 degrees. Winds do remain out of the north and northwest at 5 miles per hour, though. Those dew points are in the upper 50s, so we've gained just a little bit more in the way of humidity, and the greater areas of moist air are back towards the west, where we actually have had that shower and thunderstorm work its way on through. Outside of that, the air's still rather dry, but you begin to notice the little amount of moisture that we have in the atmosphere at this point. And the humidity does increase a little bit as we go through the week. It'll take some time, but that will happen. So we're watching these storms right now, a lot of those beginning to fall apart, but for the most part, folks, the Midwest is dry. We have high pressure in control. That's what's kept the sunshine around. That's also what has kept the drier air around as well. This high pressure stays in play as we go through the next couple of days, but eventually that starts to work its way towards our east. Once this high gets towards our east, look for winds to begin to turn out of the south. That southerly wind will begin to increase the temperature. That'll also increase the humidity as well. But let's time it out for you as we go through tonight. Look for those lows to fall right around towards 60 degrees. Tomorrow, we'll warm up into the low to mid 80s once again. And just like today, I can't rule out that isolated shower or thunderstorm popping up. We'll then cool back down into the 60s before warming right back up into the low to mid 80s going into your Thursday. And we gradually add a couple degrees to the forecast each and every day through the weekend. The weekend will be our warmest couple of days before another cold front comes through on Monday. That'll bring a chance of showers and then a drop in temperatures as well.
J.J. Watt hopes to relive some great childhood memories when the Houston Texans practice in Green Bay in a few weeks. Stories coming up in sports.
Not just a sedan, it's a
Packers training camp is upon us. Today in Green Bay, local TV stations were all lined up to get the all-important players move their stuff into the dorms at St. Norbert College video. Everyone's going to be in camp tomorrow. The first on-the-field practice is Thursday morning, 10:15. Boy, they got nice cars, don't they? The first practice under the new leadership of new head coach Matt LaFleur. The Packers also announced the 2 practices with the Houston Texans on August 5th and 6th will both start at 10:15 in the morning and are open to the public. We're hoping J.J. Watt will be on the field for the Texans. He's on the physically unable to perform list after arthroscopic knee surgery in January, but they say Watt's doing well, shouldn't be out all that long. You know Watt wants to be in those practices. At the recent American Family Insurance Championship, Watt said as a young lad growing up in Pewaukee, those practices helped shape his future.
Being a kid growing up, I went to one day of training camp and I watched from the fence, and I went over to the parking lot and threw a t-shirt over for autographs, and I did all that, and I watched them bike over, and I'll never forget looking through that fence and just thinking to myself, those guys do this for a living. And so that was one of those moments that kind of led me down that path to where I am today.
The Brewers played the Cincinnati Reds again tonight at 7:10. Sure seemed like they'd win last night when Tyler Saladino hit a grand slam at the bottom of the 8th to turn a 4-1 deficit into a 5-4 Brewers lead. Second straight game, Saladino hit a grand slam, but at the top of the 9th, Jeremy Jeffress couldn't hold it. Eugenio Suarez hit his second homer of the night. 2-run shot gave the Reds a 6-5 win. But even later last night, the Cubs gave the Brewers a bit of a gift. They blew a lead late in their game in San Francisco. Joe Panik, game-winning hit against Pedro Strop, 5-4 Giants. So the Cubs lead the Brewers by 2 in the Central. The Brewers are now a half game out of the second NL wild card spot. Perhaps some help is on the way for the Brewers pitching staff, though. Jimmy Nelson will have another rehab appearance tomorrow in AAA San Antonio. That would suggest Nelson's close to being activated, especially after Brandon Woodruff is out for at least 6 weeks. But with Jimmy Nelson, nothing's guaranteed.
It was crossing my mind last year, too. You know, I was in a situation where I was mentally prepared to come back last year, and then, you know, things kept happening that I couldn't control that didn't allow for that. So, you know, you can't look that far ahead right now.
It's coming a month from today. The Prep Mania High School Football Game of the Week will start our 12th season with the Monona Grove at Wanakee. We're live on TBW and Channel3000.com 1 month from tonight with the Game of the Week. Have you seen the new football locker room at LSU? They spent $28 million to renovate and make it state-of-the-art. One of the features is that the lockers turn into pods for each player, and they can actually sleep in them during breaks. And you can charge the built-in sensors in your helmet in those pods, too. Not everyone is happy with spending all that money. A mass communications professor said, meanwhile, across campus, I vacuum my office with a dust devil I bought at Walmart. By the way, LSU football made a $56 million profit last year.
Wow.
Well, they
Pocket change.
I just hope
Yeah,
JJ,
right?
is he physically able to maybe ride the bikes with the kids? I know there's some talk about that, right?
He's doing well, and he should be active very soon. So,
That would be fun.
That would
fun
be
to see
really
that.
cool.
Real quick, Chris.
All right, we're going to keep the sunshine around. Going through the rest of the week, only slight shower chances.
Thanks for joining us.
We'll see you back here at 10.